Trade wars are back, and this time Canada isn't pulling punches. In a stunning escalation, Ontario Premier Doug Ford declared that Canada will retaliate hard against President Trump's tariffs, vowing to inflict as much pain to Americans as possible. His exact words, "We just aren't going to roll over. We're going to retaliate." This is no longer just diplomacy. This is open economic warfare between historic allies. So what triggered this breakdown? Why is Canada taking such an aggressive stance? And what's next for U.S. Canada relations under Trump 2.0? Let's break it all down. It started with tariffs. President Trump announced sweeping new import duties on Canadian goods, targeting lumber, steel and aluminum, automobile parts, energy exports. Trump's justification? We can't keep letting other countries take advantage of us. We're bringing manufacturing home. But the impact on Canada, especially Ontario, is massive. Ontario is Canada's industrial core, exporting over $230 billion in goods to the U.S. annually. Trump's new tariffs threaten tens of thousands of jobs, cross-border factories, shared supply chains, and key components of the North American auto sector. Ford's message: you punch us, we punch back. Ford, usually known for political caution, dropped the gloves this time. All Trump's doing is hurting the American people. The costs are going to go skyrocketing. We just aren't going to roll over. We're going to retaliate. And he's going to feel the pain from the American people. I feel terrible for the Americans, but it's Trump that's creating this chaos. This wasn't a behind-closed-doors comment. It was a public, premeditated statement meant to rally Ottawa and warn Washington. And it's working. Ontario is where this hits hardest. The province is home to GM, Ford, and Stellantis auto plants, massive aluminum and steel facilities, forestry and lumber exports, and a huge share of cross-border trade routes. These industries don't just sell to America. They're integrated with America. Car parts cross the U.S. Canada border up to 7 times during manufacturing. Tariffs on just one component can paralyze an entire supply chain. Ford's government knows this, and they're gearing up to weaponize Ontario's leverage in return. Canada has options, and they're not afraid to use them. Tariff counterpunching. Canada can and will slap retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Expect targets like agriculture, corn, beef, dairy, consumer goods, toilet paper, whiskey, machinery and tools critical to red state economies. Election year pressure. The retaliation will be surgical, focused on Trump's voter base. That means battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin will feel the pain. Delaying U.S. projects. Ontario has influence over binational infrastructure. Delays or environmental pushback on U.S. energy projects, pipelines, or border crossings could be weaponized. Critical minerals. Canada holds reserves of key materials like nickel, cobalt, and rare earths. Restricting U.S. access to these could hit American industry where it hurts. This won't be a symbolic slap. It will be painful, targeted, and politically calibrated. Ford, known more for domestic issues than foreign policy, is suddenly Canada's most hawkish voice on U.S. relations. Why? Because Ottawa is divided. Prime Minister Mark Carney has tried to maintain diplomatic lines with Washington, even as Trump escalates economic pressure. But Ford? He represents the industrial workers, the union-heavy districts, and the border towns. He has to act. And with this speech, he just became Canada's economic war general. Trump's tariff playbook is simple. Apply pressure, create leverage, force concessions. He believes Canada needs the U.S. more than the U.S. needs Canada. He's betting they'll cave before a full-blown trade war erupts. But this time, he may have miscalculated. Because Ford isn't just defending Ontario's economy, he's defending Canada's sovereignty. And politically, appeasement is no longer an option. This isn't just an economic spat. It's the latest crack in a collapsing alliance. For decades, the U.S. and Canada shared free trade, integrated military defense, NORAD, energy pipelines, environmental pacts, Now, trust is eroding. Canada's pivoting toward Europe for trade, China for rare minerals, domestic protectionism to secure jobs. This bridge burning isn't temporary, it's structural. And the longer this conflict drags on, the harder it becomes to repair the damage. Let's be blunt, everyone loses in a trade war. U.S. consumers, higher prices on imported cars, construction materials, and groceries. Canadian workers, layoffs in export industries, delays in cross-border contracts, and collapsing supplier networks. Trump's re-election strategy backfires if farmers, truckers, or factory workers feel the sting before November. Even Ford admits, "I feel terrible for the Americans." But make no mistake, he's still coming for them. Because in his view, Trump started it. And now Canada has to finish it. We're heading into an economic showdown. Escalation. If neither side backs down, tariffs will spread to new industries, energy, pharmaceuticals, even tourism. WTO lawsuits. Canada may file formal complaints, but Trump has shown zero respect for WTO rulings. Back-channel talks. It's likely diplomats are already working to de-escalate behind closed doors. But Ford's speech just made compromise politically harder. Global ripple effects. Other allies like Mexico, Japan, and the EU are watching closely. If Trump succeeds in pushing Canada around, they'll be next. Doug Ford's statement was more than a reaction. It was a red line. For decades, Canada played nice, deferring, appeasing, compromising. Not anymore. Trump's tariffs may have been aimed at Canadian goods, but Ford made it clear, you come after our jobs, we'll come after your voters. In a world where trade is the new battlefield, Ontario just fired a warning shot across the border. And make no mistake, Washington heard it. Do you support Canada's pushback against Trump's tariffs? Is Ford standing up for sovereignty or risking a trade war no one can afford? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for raw, honest analysis on geopolitics, economics, and the global power games no one else will cover. This is Libertarian Uncensored. And this time, the northern neighbor is fighting back.